Joining us from Washington is Hugo Gurdon. He's the editor-in-chief of the Washington Examiner newspaper. In my analysis, did I say anything that you quibble with, Mr. Gurdon?
No, I don't quibble with it at all. I completely agree that strategically it's important for the United States to have a very strong military presence in the Arctic and in northern Greenland. It's important for the Golden Dome. It's important for the protection of the Arctic, important for the protection of northern Europe. But the president seems to me to be going about it in precisely the wrong way. And Denmark has already said, has made it perfectly plain that it's willing to make a deal. So, we don't want to let our enemies operate in the Western Hemisphere. We basically made sure of that down in Venezuela, but we don't say we've got to own Venezuela. We can make the deal with Denmark. And, one of the ironies, I think, is, Bill, that in many circumstances, the president is saying the Europeans should do more for their own defense. Well, here's a perfect opportunity to get a NATO ally to do more for its own defense by saying, right, we're going to strike a deal. The United States can have a 50-year lease or a 99-year lease for set up military operations in the northern Arctic, on the north coast of Greenland. Take on the Russian nuclear-powered icebreakers and the Chinese moving into that area. It's something that they should be doing. And today's news about the exchange with the governments of Finland and Norway was just extraordinary.
But I don't believe that. I got to tell you, maybe it's true, but President Trump, what he likes to do, and I'm sure you know this, is that he likes to throw the hand grenade in and it blows up. And then from that swirl of smoke and everything, then he walks in and gets the best possible deal. So he likes to keep people on edge, and he likes to say things that are provocative, and he likes to have everybody on hand. And then he comes in and it's like Mighty Mouse. Here I come to save the day. And he almost does it every time.
Yeah, look, I think that there's truth in that, and it's one of the cautions that one needs when considering what Trump is doing. He will go in there and, create a kind of mayhem or extraordinary circumstances in which everybody's hair is on fire, and then when they settle for 60% of what he's asked for, or they rush to make a deal, he's actually getting what he originally intended to get.
Right.
So I completely agree with that, but it doesn't mean to say that any method of getting there is really an acceptable or a good one. I don't think.
I think that's a good point. I think what he's got now is all of Europe hates him.
Right.
Do we really want all of Europe hating us?
No, we don't.
No. So, but 3 weeks from now, all of Europe might like us again because he'll do something that would benefit them. I don't know, but I understand the overkill. But that's what he's always done. I mean, if you read my book, The United States of Trump, I mean, every business deal, every political deal. Remember the first debate when he had the 9 guys lined up on the stage and he just blew them up? Right. Boring Jeb and lying Ted, and people are shocked. And it works for him. And so it's hard when I'm speaking with the president. I'm always respectful, no matter what president it is. Right. I can't say, well, all right. He can say, look, it's been successful for me my whole career. And that's where his mindset is.
Yeah, he will actually sometimes prevent people who are kind of, broadly speaking, supportive of him from explaining away or trying to put into context. And I mean, right back when he accused President Obama of starting ISIS, and people would say, oh, what he means is that he was creating the circumstances in which ISIS could start, the Islamic State, etc. And he said, no, Obama started it. He says deliberately outrageous things, and indeed they are outrageous. And then you're left to calculate later, well, okay, he got what we wanted. He got things for the United States. He shocked people in the way that he did it. What is the price that we paid for getting the thing that we want?
Yeah,
and that is
that's a legitimate question. I mean, there is certainly unease throughout the world. Now, we go over to Iran, and that's a situation where There are a lot of different nations involved. Saudi Arabia, a big player, not very vocal on it, but they're big, and Trump listens to them. What do you think is going to happen there? Any idea?
Look, I think there's quite a high likelihood, if not very, very soon, but pretty high likelihood of American military involvement over there. I don't know. There's not a lot of information that comes out about exactly what the state of protests are, but they seem to have died down. Obviously, thousands of people have been murdered by the regime. But I think that, there are reports of former members of the government there being arrested by the Republican guards for having, contact with the Shah or the successor outside the United States, and there are defections, the diplomatic defections. They don't necessarily count for very much, but they might be straws in the wind. I think a lot of people would say, and I think I agree with it, this regime is on its last legs. It cannot stay in power, even with the repressive methods that it uses, for that much longer. But how much that much longer is a difficult question. It seems to me that the United States was probably caught without the proper military assets in the area. That's not a surprise. There was a huge deployment, obviously, over in Venezuela, and there's a carrier group that's coming from the South China Sea. And by the time it gets there, the current wave of protests might be flattened. But I think that your viewers should probably expect more turbulence and ultimately the United States getting involved, not with troops on the ground, of course, but with things like cutting off Republican Guard communications. They know the United States has proved itself extremely good at disrupting the ability of...
Yeah, and they'll flatten the Revolutionary Guard headquarters. That's what I think will happen. But it's all a matter of what was put forth by the Gulf states was if you go in now, then the Ayatollah is going to use that as a religious fundamentalism turn. Or look at the great Satan's trying to destroy all of us. And so it wasn't a right time to do it, which I think has some merit to it. I know the president would like to take them out, but they want to do it surgically. So just summing up, I don't believe that the U.S. is going to put military into Greenland unless there's a treaty signed. Right. Do you concur with that?
Oh, I do. I concur. I don't think that they're going to do it, and it would be absolute disaster if they did.
Right. That would just ruin the whole Trump administration. All right, Mr. Godin, thanks very much for helping us out on a holiday. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.